caught my wife and her affair partners on camera, then blindsided her with divorce papers. I never thought my marriage would come crashing down like this. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, and I believe we built a strong and trusting relationship. But it all changed when I noticed little signs. Late nights at work, sudden secrecy with her phone, and emotional distance I could not ignore. My gut told me something was wrong, so I decided to find out the truth. I installed hidden security cameras in our home, hoping I was just being paranoid. But what I saw on those recordings shattered my world. My wife was not just having an affair. She had multiple partners, all parading through our house when she thought I was not watching. Instead of confronting her right away, I decided to play it smart. I gathered every piece of evidence I needed and prepared a devastating blow. Divorce papers she never saw coming. Marriage, at its core, is built on trust. I always believed that my wife, Lisa, and I had that. We had been together for a decade, weathering life's ups and downs. We met in college, and from the moment we started dating, it felt like we were meant to be. Lisa was charming, intelligent, and had a way of making me feel like the most important person in the world. We built a life together, bought a house, and even talked about starting a family. But as the years went by, something changed. The warmth in our relationship slowly faded, replaced by an odd distance that I could not quite understand. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Lisa had recently been promoted at work, and with that came late nights and weekend meetings. But soon, the excuses became too frequent. She started dressing up more often, even on nights when she claimed she was working late. She suddenly became protective of her phone, keeping it face down and carrying it everywhere, even to the bathroom. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself that I was overthinking things. After all, Lisa was my wife. Why would she betray me? But my doubts refused to fade. The final straw came when I found a restaurant receipt in her car. It was from an expensive steakhouse, dated for a night. She had told me she was working late. The receipt was for 2 meals, with a hefty bill that suggested drinks and dessert. My heart sank. I knew I needed proof before I could confront her. That was when I decided to install security cameras in our home. I positioned them carefully, one in the living room, one in the hallway, and another near the entrance. My hands trembled as I set them up, hoping I was wrong. But deep down, I feared I was about to uncover something that would change my life forever. Lisa and I had what seemed like a perfect marriage. At least, that was how it appeared to everyone on the outside. We were the couple our friends admired, always hosting dinner parties and taking weekend getaways together. But beneath the surface, things were not as perfect as they seemed. It started subtly. Lisa began spending more time at work, claiming that her promotion required extra hours. She would come home late, exhausted, and barely talk to me before heading straight to bed. Our conversations grew shorter, and the intimacy we once shared faded into distant memories. I missed my wife, the woman who used to light up when she saw me. But whenever I asked if something was wrong, she reassured me with a forced smile, saying everything was fine. Then came the secrecy. She started guarding her phone, changing her passwords, and even stepping outside to take calls. If I glanced at her screen, she would get defensive. One night, I jokingly asked her if she was having an affair. She laughed it off, but the look in her eyes told me she was hiding something. I wanted to trust her, but my instincts told me otherwise. The final confirmation came when she suddenly became obsessed with her appearance. Lisa had always been naturally beautiful, but now she was dressing up every day, even when she was just working late. New lingerie appeared in our drawers, yet she had not worn any of it for me. When I found that suspicious restaurant receipt, my stomach churned. The name on the receipt was from a restaurant I had never been to, yet Lisa had gone there just days before. If she was working late, then who had been her dinner companion? That was when I realized I could not ignore the signs anymore. I needed proof, and the only way to get it was by catching her in the act. I set up the cameras, dreading what I might find, but determined to know the truth. The night I set up the cameras, my heart was pounding in my chest like a war drum. I had told Lisa that I would be working late, just as she had so many times before. I had rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times, but nothing could prepare me for what I was about to witness. I parked down the street, just outside of our house, gripping my phone tightly as I watched the security feed. I had installed hidden cameras in key places: the living room, the hallway leading to our bedroom, and even one discreetly positioned near the front door. My mind kept racing. What if I was wrong? What if this was all a misunderstanding? For nearly an hour, I watched Lisa go about her usual routine. She walked into the house, kicked off her shoes, and changed into something more comfortable: leggings and an oversized t-shirt, the same outfit she usually wore around me. For a moment, a terrible guilt gnawed at me. Maybe I had let my suspicions get the best of me. Maybe there was no other man. Then the doorbell rang. My stomach twisted into a tight, not as Lisa practically ran to the front door. When she opened it, all of my doubts vanished in an instant. A man stepped inside, and the way Lisa greeted him left no room for misinterpretation. She threw her arms around him, pressing her lips against his in a passionate kiss that made my blood run cold. I gritted my teeth as I watched them, my hands shaking. This was not a simple, friendly embrace. This was not some innocent work colleague stopping by. The way her body molded into his, the way she whispered something into his ear before leading him into our home, it was all too much. I wanted to storm in right then and there. My heart screamed for me to catch them in the act, to demand answers, to throw that man out of my house. But I forced myself to stay calm. I needed undeniable proof. I needed enough evidence that Lisa could never twist the truth or manipulate the situation. They made their way to the couch first, sitting close together as Lisa poured him a drink. They laughed, whispering and touching each other in ways that made me sick to my stomach. She ran her fingers through his hair, resting her hand on his thigh. And then they stood up, and Lisa took his hand, leading him down the hallway toward our bedroom. My bedroom, the place where I had held her in my arms, where we had built our life together. The betrayal was unfolding before my eyes, and I could do nothing but watch. I clenched my fists, breathing heavily as my vision blurred with anger. Every moment felt like a knife to my chest, but I forced myself to wait. I had to see this through. I watched as they disappeared into the bedroom, and the door closed behind them. I did not need to see what happened next. I already knew. A part of me felt numb. The other part wanted revenge. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My heart felt like it was about to explode out of my chest. But I was not going to lose control. No, Lisa had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Lisa acted as if nothing had happened. She woke up early, just as she always did, getting ready for work. She kissed me on the cheek before heading out, completely unaware that I knew everything. I stared at her as she walked out the door, feeling an overwhelming sense of disgust. Once she was gone, I wasted no time. I compiled the video footage, ensuring I had everything saved in multiple places. Then, I called a divorce attorney. When I arrived at the attorney's office, I laid everything out, the video proof, the receipts of the expensive gifts I had found, the unexplained credit card charges. My attorney listened carefully, nodding as he reviewed the evidence. You are in a strong position, he told me. Lisa has no idea what is coming. We can make sure she gets nothing. That was all I needed to hear. But there was something else, something that made my blood boil even more. As I dug deeper into Lisa's affair partner, I realized that he was not just some random guy. He was her co-worker, a high-level executive at her company. And their company had a strict policy against workplace relationships. I was not just going to divorce Lisa. I was going to ruin her and her affair partner completely. I gathered more evidence, including text messages and call logs that showed how frequently they had been in contact. I even found a dinner reservation Lisa had made using my credit card for the same man she had brought into our home. I was done playing the fool. Lisa thought she was getting away with her affair, but she had no idea that I was about to expose everything. Lisa had no idea what was waiting for her when she walked through the door that evening. I had spent the entire day preparing for what was to come, double-checking the evidence, speaking to my attorney, and making sure every piece of the puzzle was perfectly in place. She came home just like any other day, dropping her purse on the table and giving me a quick smile. "Hey, babe," she said casually, completely unaware of the storm brewing. I did not respond. Instead, I simply placed a thick manila envelope on the dining table. Lisa frowned, her brows knitting together in confusion. "What is that?" she asked, stepping forward. "Open it," I said, my voice cold and steady. She hesitated, but eventually picked up the envelope, pulling out the documents inside. Her eyes scanned the first page, and the color drained from her face. "Divorce papers," she whispered, barely audible. I leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, watching as she flipped through the pages, her hands trembling. "W, what is this? Why are you doing this?" she stammered, looking up at me in shock. I let out a dry chuckle, shaking my head. "Why am I doing this? Are you really going to pretend you do not know?" Lisa swallowed hard, her breathing uneven. I did not understand. I cut her off before she could start her lies. I grabbed my phone, opened the video footage, and pressed play. The sound of her voice filled the room, followed by the unmistakable sight of her embracing her affair partner in our living room. Her eyes widened in horror as she watched herself on the screen, kissing another man, whispering sweet nothings to him. No, this is not," she gasped, shaking her head wildly. "It is not what it looks like." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, so it just looks like you were having an affair in our house? In our bed?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and for a moment, I saw fear cross her face. She must have realized that she had no way out of this. This is not fair," she blurted out. "You were always so distant. I thought maybe you were cheating on me." I scoffed. "So, your solution was to cheat first? That is your excuse?" Lisa covered her face with her hands, her body trembling. "I made a mistake. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling." "No," I interrupted, my voice firm. "There is no we anymore. You destroyed this marriage the moment you brought another man into our home." I reached into my pocket and pulled out another set of documents. "These are legal agreements, stating that you will leave the house immediately. You will not contest the divorce. You will not try to take any assets. If you refuse, I will make sure your entire company knows about your workplace relationship." Lisa's breath hitched. "You cannot do that," she whispered, her eyes darting to the documents. "Oh, I already did," I said smoothly. "I sent an anonymous email to your HR department, along with video evidence of you and your coworker. By now, they have probably already started an investigation." Her face twisted in horror. You are ruining my life." I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. No, Lisa, you ruined your own life the moment you decided to betray me. Her hands trembled as she reached for her phone. She must have been texting her affair partner because seconds later, her phone buzzed with a response. Then, as if on cue, Lisa's phone rang. She looked down at the screen, and her expression turned from panic to absolute devastation. "It is my boss," she whispered. I smirked. "You might want to answer that." Her fingers trembled as she picked up the call. "Hello?" I could hear the muffled voice on the other end, sharp and firm. Lisa's face crumbled as she nodded frantically, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Please, I can explain. No, I did not. I understand." The call ended, and she dropped the phone onto the table, looking utterly shattered. I just got fired," she choked out, barely able to breathe. I crossed my arms, unfazed. "Good. Now pack your things and get out." Lisa sank to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Please, do not do this. I will do anything. I made a mistake, but I love you." I shook my head. "If you loved me, you would not have betrayed me. I am done, Lisa. Now, get out before I call the police." With her job gone, her affair exposed, and her marriage over, Lisa had nothing left. I stood there, unmoving, as she gathered her things, her sobs echoing through the house. I had given her my trust, my love, my life, and she had thrown it all away. Now, I was making sure she paid the price. Lisa stood at the doorway, clutching a small suitcase, her face streaked with tears. Her once confident demeanor was gone, replaced by sheer devastation. I could tell she wanted to say something, to plead one last time, but I did not give it a chance. I stepped forward and opened the door wide, signaling that it was over. She hesitated, then whispered, "Where am I supposed to go?" I shrugged, my face expressionless. "Not my problem." Her lips trembled, but she nodded as if finally accepting her fate. Without another word, she stepped outside. I shut the door behind her, locking it. The moment the lock clicked, an overwhelming sense of relief washed over me. It was done, but I was not finished yet. The next few days were a whirlwind. Word of Lisa's affair spread quickly, particularly within her workplace. Since she had been involved with a co-worker, things escalated fast. Their company had a strict policy against inappropriate relationships, especially when they disrupted the work environment. It was not long before both Lisa and her affair partner were called into HR. Lisa tried to downplay the situation, but the evidence was irrefutable. The videos I had captured through security cameras, combined with the screenshots of their explicit texts and calls, painted an undeniable picture of deceit. A few days later, Lisa was fired. Her affair partner met the same fate soon after. Meanwhile, I made sure that Lisa felt the weight of her choices in every aspect of her life. She had moved in with her sister temporarily, but even that arrangement did not last long. Apparently, Lisa's sister had always disapproved of her treatment of me. After just a few weeks of crashing on her couch, her sister had had enough and kicked her out. Lisa tried reaching out to old friends, but most of them wanted nothing to do with her. It turned out that once people saw the truth, their sympathy vanished. She had betrayed a man who had given her everything, and now she was paying the price. But the worst blow was yet to come. Lisa was desperate. She tried calling me multiple times, leaving long, tearful voicemails. She apologized, begged for another chance, even promised to go to therapy, but I had already heard enough of her lies. I blocked her number. Her last attempt to manipulate me came during the divorce proceedings. Initially, she had thought she could fight for alimony, trying to claim that she had sacrificed years of her life to support me. But my lawyer tore through her claims with brutal efficiency. We presented evidence of her infidelity, proving beyond doubt that she had destroyed the marriage through her own actions. The judge showed no sympathy for her. The final ruling was brutal. For her, she got nothing. No share of my assets. No spousal support. Not a single penny. I kept the house, the car, the savings, everything. Lisa walked away with only the clothes in her suitcase. After the divorce, Lisa's life took a downward spiral. She bounced between friends' houses for a while, tried to piece her life together, but people grew tired of her sob story. At one point, she even tried to reach out to her affair partner, hoping they could build a future together. But he had already moved on. Once she was no longer a secret thrill, he lost interest. He did not return her calls, and she found out he had started dating someone new just weeks after their affair had been exposed. Lisa was truly alone. Her job prospects were bleak. Word had spread about why she was fired, and no company wanted to take a risk on someone who had caused such a scandal. She ended up working minimum wage jobs just to survive. One night, months after our divorce was finalized, I received a message from an unknown number. "Lisa, I know you hate me, but I need help. I have nowhere to go. Please, I am begging you." I stared at the message for a long moment. In the past, I might have felt sorry for her. I might have considered offering help, but not anymore. She had made her choices. She had destroyed everything we had. Without hesitation, I blocked the number. Lisa was nothing but a memory now, a lesson learned, and I was finally free. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. At first, it was difficult. The betrayal had left deep scars, and trust was not something I could easily give again. But I refused to let Lisa's actions define my future. I threw myself into work, taking on projects that I had once put on hold. I reconnected with friends who had supported me through the worst times. And eventually I started dating again. It took time, but I found happiness once more. One day, as I sat in a cafe, enjoying a quiet morning, I overheard two women at a nearby table whispering about someone they'd run into. She looked so different now. Like, she aged 10 years in just a few months. Yeah, I heard she is barely getting by. Some people say karma works fast. I did not have to ask who they were talking about. I sipped my coffee, a small smirk forming on my lips. Lisa had lost everything, and I had moved on to something better. And that is how I turned the tables on my unfaithful wife and her affair partners, ensuring that she faced the consequences of her actions. Betrayal always comes to light, and when it does, it is up to us to decide how to handle it. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have confronted her differently, or did I handle it the right way? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss another gripping story.